By the time I was graduating college, Rich Dad, Poor Dad came out. That was a great book. But I also had the good fortune, despite the fact that my mom was never really financially independent, she had bought a home when my parents got divorced. My dad said, please, take this money and buy a house. Don't rent.
Welcome to Unstoppable Podcast with Harry Sardinas, inspiring conversations with influential millionaires, investors, thought leaders, entrepreneurs who are making a massive difference with their innovative products and services, and sharing the challenges and the wisdom of how they sold their first million.
But how you knew so young? How can you knew so young? Because you don't have any reference from your dad and your mom. I mean, my parents are teachers, so all what I hear in my house was, you need to go to university and you're going to do well in life. So I went to university, spent 5 years, I got a degree, I give it to them, they're very happy. I never exercised, I got a degree in chemical engineer for nothing because I never exercised as a chemical engineer, but apparently made them very happy that I give this piece of paper to them because they thought that this is, they didn't know any better. Everybody is an employee in my family, honestly, my grandpa was an entrepreneur, but he died when I was a kid, very young, so I couldn't know even, I find out after, you know what I mean? So I don't have any reference from anybody in my family that there is another way that we can generate income rather to having a job. There is no reference, nobody taught me. And in the same with you, I think you couldn't. So from your family, for what you see around your dad, okay, your dad is an entrepreneur. Have a small business,
right?
Like a self-employed, yeah, exactly. You create your own job for yourself, and or sometimes you call it the business, but it's not really a reference how to create leverage. So what happened? So this inspiration, I know you were hustler, you want to make a little bit of money and that's it. But who told you to learn those books, to consume this content? Do you have any friend? Do you watch a TV show?
So
one book led to the other one.
Yeah, Think and Grow Rich, right? I read that when I was 13. And Think and Grow Rich, that was as a young teenager.
Wow. Great book.
Great book, and that talked about.
Anyone recommended to you, or just happened to be in a loop?
I don't even remember how it got to me. And then by the time I was graduating college, Rich Dad, Poor Dad came out. That was a great book. But I also had the good fortune, despite the fact that my mom was never really financially independent, she had bought a home when my parents got divorced. My dad said, please, take this money and buy a house. Don't rent. And that was the best decision because that's the only money she ever had. She refinanced the house, 5 different times to take money out to support her life.
Wow.
But we lived in a nice neighborhood, and I had a lot of friends whose parents were, the father was a professional and the mom was at home, or the mom was a school teacher and the dad was a lawyer. And I was always inquisitive. I wanted to know, how did you decide to do this? What do you like about it? And, one of my friends' dads owned the largest beer distributor in the state that I grew up in. And he was very successful, and he had a beautiful house and a great beach house and always had the best Mercedes. And so I used to enjoy talking to him and trying to learn from him because he was third generation. And my friend now, my peer, is now the 4th generation in that business. And trying to understand, what does it take to have a business that survives? And it was very interesting because they had franchise protections in New Jersey for distributing beer. So it was like a monopoly. And
wow.
And then my father, as an accountant, had clients of all different types. And so often when we'd spend the weekends with my dad, he'd always share stories on the weekends about the people he was working with and what they did to make money. And he was one of the pioneers of forensic accounting. And so he would testify in court about disputes over money. And so often on a weekend, he would give us one of the cases he was working on for the week. Hey, I've got these two brothers. They inherited their business from mom and dad. And here's, one's the CEO and one stays at home. And, the CEO decided he's going to pay himself $500,000. And that way, at the end of the year, there were no profits for the brother at home to split. That's right. Should he take the money because he's the one working, or should he get nothing and he gets the same as his brother who sits home, And so we'd have these very interesting
Wow, this is great. This is
stories.
Great. It's fantastic. Yeah. I mean, we do need to give credit to your dad to, maybe to to ask you guys for help, but without knowing, he was giving a lot of ammunition for you guys to build your future, exactly. Right? Wow, that's amazing.
I latched onto it. I loved it. I've got 3 other brothers. I think we all absorbed the lessons, but not everybody was that interested, So yeah. I was always very.
So your other brothers, they do have a job, right? Only you turn out to be the entrepreneur.
One works with me, lives in Puerto Rico, and he helped me start a business in Puerto Rico because there's a 4% corporate tax rate there. And so I called him up and said,
the business in Puerto Rico is also property there in Puerto Rico? Buildings?
No, that business is a combination of property and some consulting. We do a lot of specialized tax planning. And so part of the business there is related to the special tax planning that we do. And then I've got another brother involved in commercial real estate, separate from me. He works for someone else. And then my other brother is an acupuncturist, and he helps blind people get their vision.
Wow.
He's got a very, very unique business. People from 50 different countries have come to his office if they have retinitis pigmentosa and all different types of eye diseases. He helps reverse their vision loss.
So basically, wow. So he also has his own business. So turn out, right. Because sometimes entrepreneurs we have within ourselves, right? Let's talk about this. Yes. Sometimes you have this within you for any reason, for the way that you see, because you see all your brothers saw your mom working as hard, but not all decide to become an entrepreneur. So sometimes it's something more individual, it's something inside our DNA that's an entrepreneur that we knew that we can do it better and we're going to go for it, whatever it takes.
And one thing to say is hard work doesn't get you your first million.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of hardworking people out there that never make $1 million. And I think sometimes they look around and say, what am I doing wrong? I'm working hard, but you're working hard at the wrong thing. And you've got to find ways to create value for others that they're going to pay you for. And, you could be the hardest worker in an environment where there's no opportunity for growth. And that's not the right position to put yourself in. You want to be somewhere where you have someone in front of you that's making more money and you want to make their life easier so that they want to make sure they keep you around.
Yeah. So, Noah, thank you so much. So if somebody wants to know more about, I see a lot of books there that you wrote. Yeah. If somebody... tell us a little bit more about the books and where people can found those books. Where can they buy it? And sure. Also, if they want to learn more about you, about the series of businesses that you have, with the view into a serial entrepreneur, not only property investor, running a different businesses. So tell us a little bit more about your businesses, about your book, how people can find you, how the process works.
Sure, gladly. So again, my name is Noah Rosenfarb. You could find me on LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram. And I put out content about wealth and real estate and lifestyle and how to become what I call rich beyond money. And that's really the philosophy that I've developed over time. And most of the people I work with are 7-figure income and 8-figure net worth entrepreneurs. So they've gone from that 0 to 1, then they've gone from 1 to 10. Many of them have gone from 10 to 20 or 50 or 100. And what they find is that their pursuit of financial success does not lead them to a happy, well, fulfilling life. And so what we try and help them figure out is how do they go from being financially wealthy to being wealthy in the truest sense of the word, what we call rich beyond money, where they have the passive income so they don't have to do work if they don't want to, where they've been able to, create their ideal life so they have a schedule that resonates with them. They're with the people they want to spend time with, and they're not doing things they don't want to do. And maybe most importantly, they're finding ways to find and contribute to their higher purpose. So they're really building their legacy. They're making impacts in their community, in their family, in their, in the sphere of influence that they want to make an impact. And so that's the business I'm in. We do wealth coaching. A lot of it is helping them figure out how to reduce their taxes, because what I find is that for us American entrepreneurs, especially if they're in New York or California, giving half their money to the government, maybe they've made a move like I did to Florida or Texas, and they're giving 35% of their money to the federal government. If we can reduce that number to 0 to 10%, then all of that extra capital they can reinvest for their additional income and accelerate their achievement of financial independence. So that's really the linchpin of what we do, is tax reduction for high income entrepreneurs. And then we lead them into these other areas of how to have a great life. And so one of the most common reasons people reach out to us is because they're selling a business and they recognize, they're going to have this 8-figure exit. And if they don't do anything, they're going to write a big check to the government. So I wrote a book called Exit Rich Beyond Money that talks about, how do you go through that process of selling a business and have a successful outcome. And that's probably, I would say, the most value we can offer to someone is when they're selling their business or they're making a ton of money, they come to us and we show them ways to keep more of their money and have a better life.
And with that note, thank you so much, Noah. That has been fantastic. And for all of you following in our social media and in Apple and Spotify, see you in our next episode of Unstoppable, how brave entrepreneurs like Noah break that wall and achieve the first million. Bye for now.
Thank you, Harry.
Follow us for more interviews with world's most influential, audacious entrepreneurs that overcame challenges and adversity, providing you with the blueprint of how they sold their first million so you can grow your business exponentially.